I was just wondering how long it took each of you guys to both be comfortable speaking Spanish and also be able to understand Spanish.
Well, we learned Spanish, and then we had to practice a lot of Spanish with a lot of different people. And we went to a lot of places learning Spanish, and we felt comfortable with it because we felt like we had learned enough to speak it right.
How long did it take? Sasha, how long did it take you to learn Spanish? 4 months? Yeah. It was a gradual process. So I think they did not feel comfortable in the first couple of months interacting with other kids. I would take them to the park, hoping they would play and learn Spanish, and that didn't really happen.
In Ecuador, I played with one girl from Ecuador. Not another
Hi, I just want to know what convinced you that this was possible for your family.
So the question was, what convinced us that this was possible for our family? That's a hard. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't not possible. I guess it's really kind of the best answer I have. So we were really lucky and fortunate to be in a position where it was really once we I guess the one interesting thing is how we came to the decision to do this, and part of that was that I had kind of outgrown our house, and so we decided to sell our house anyway, and it was really kind of in that process we're like looking around for where to move to, and we realized we didn't have to limit it to Davis or the United States, or we didn't really necessarily pick a place and stay in one place because of our professions and such. And it was also that the kids were at an age where we felt like that they weren't so old that they weren't in high school yet, basically. So they were probably more open to doing this at this stage in their lives. And so that's when we decided to go for it and basically say, okay, it's possible if we have the opportunities. Let's do it.
I'm wondering how long it took you to get to all of those places.
I don't know.
A long time or a little time?
Well,
Like, what was the longest flight that you took to get Sarah to get back?
from the longest flight was from El Salvador, San Salvador to Davis.
Because you couldn't wait to get home.
So it was the longest.
How long was it?
It was 5 hours.
What did each of you miss most about California? Starting with Isaac.
My friends. Sasha? What did you miss most?
That's a hard question. My friends Nathan and my friend Gavin and my friend Cooper.
I probably have to go with the same answer. Really, it's the people. Just the most. I have to say, I do not miss being a homeowner really very much. I but it's like it's a lot of responsibility. That's something I don't miss. That's people more than
Same here. People and ballet. I wasn't able to dance very much while on the road, and so I missed that. But people, definitely.
Hi. So my question is how you navigated things that might come up between family members being on the road and I imagine in smaller spaces.
Do you want to start that? Yeah, it's a challenge for sure because we thought we had outgrown our house and we were selling it and then we ended up in little teeny tiny spaces all over the place. So, Eric works full-time online and has to often be talking. And in many of the places we stayed, the internet was such that it would work in one room, but not all of them. So we had to clear out. So one of the things that I learned to do very quickly was to get the kids out of the house as early in the morning, or by 10:30 in the morning, to get everybody out before the entire family melted down and Eric's work was impacted. So that was definitely one. Are there other ways?
And so, yeah, sometimes it was meant retreating to the bathroom or something like that. But I mean, I think that you also learn that because it was learning that there's a rhythm to life. Yeah, I would be on my call in the bathroom. That was right. Okay, never mind. It was just a close door. Anyway, the other part of it though, you get not a certain time to figure that out. Like, it took a while to figure it out because you realized that there was a certain period of time where the kids would get along, okay? And then there's like a critical juncture at which things would almost inevitably fall apart. People would start picking each other if you didn't get them out of the house. So it was a learning process, figuring out what the rhythms were to people's tolerances. And when it came to like traveling, I would say, Kindles are a bit of a lifesaver, and some electronic devices are a bit of a lifesaver, just in that, if you have to sit in these guys at this age, if they sit in one place too long, and you probably all really well know this, they need stimulation, and if they can't get it from something, they'll start looking at each other, basically, and then it's not good. So, figuring things out like that.
Dun, 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 dun.
Joey, that was it.
Dun, 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 dun,
No, did you want to answer the question?
dun, dun, dun.
Okay, any other questions?
Maybe you were driving your own car to all these places, or did you fly somewhere?
So almost, we rented cars a total of once, twice. So we were almost never had cars. We were using buses. We used taxis quite a bit in Ecuador. So yeah, we were almost always using either public transportation, cabs, or rented a car once in Costa Rica.
No.
Twice.
And then planes between the countries.
planes.
Planes or buses between the countries.
Yeah, but I never really like crossing the border between what is it called? Nicaragua and Costa Rica. Because it's very stressful, and there are a lot of police, and like once we lost each other, we didn't know. I was with my dad, and my mom was a size and Sasha, and there's a place that said not allowed to enter but then they let you enter, and it was really weird the why it said forbidden to enter, and then we found my mom. And it was kind of scary when we couldn't find my mom.
There are definitely moments in travel when things don't go perfectly and it can be scary. Yeah.
How did you arrange your homestays, and maybe give us a story or two about some interesting interactions you had with local families?
So one of our first homestay was arranged with someone that's in this room, Julie. Julie had lived in Costa Rica, and knew a great family in a rural village. And so when I told her we were going to Costa Rica, she said, "You have to meet my family." And we contacted them via Facebook, and we arranged to stay there for 2 weeks. And it was a great experience. This was about less than a week into our trip in Costa Rica, so we all spoke almost no Spanish. And the father spoke English, but everyone else in the family did not speak any English. So we just arrived in this very small, beautiful village and settled in. And I had some pictures in the slideshow that I ended up having to delete to condense, but just to show the house that we were staying in and what it was like. I mean, it was a relatively poor village, and the house was very, very basic, and so that was new for the kids. And we had great interactions with the family, and when I think back to our level of communication at that stage, I'm surprised that we were able to form as much of a friendship as we did with them. But the kids played with their kids, especially Silas with their youngest daughter. And it was a really great experience. Another one we actually, the one that Isaac talked about, Lomawasi in Ecuador, was a fabulous experience as well. And we actually found that through Airbnb. So they happened to have a relative who had a professional job and was online a lot, and he set them up on Airbnb. And although there were many other houses in the area, or several other houses in the area who offered homestays, they had no way to advertise. So we ended up at this one. And the family was so gracious in taking us into their daily life and letting me help in the kitchen, letting the kids milk the cows, and Isaac would bring the bull out to pasture and bring him back home in the evening. There was a picture in the slideshow of him hammering the stake to pasture the bull.
That I hold as well.
So we got to really participate in the daily life, and when Eric was in Boston and I was alone with the kids, we opted to go back out there so that we could spend time with that family and have some support. And it was that's where we were when the major earthquake in Ecuador struck, actually in April. We were on that farm. Luckily not in any of the major cities.
Did you have some knowledge of Spanish before you went, or did you have to pick that up?
My mom, she just went,
I did not. I think you had some.
I had a little bit, and I had, so I muddled my way through because I had French, so I just tried to make it into Spanish. It worked about 60% of the time. But no, we did not have very much, and the kids hadn't been in Spanish immersion or anything.
So you were able to pick up some of the languages?
We did, yeah, I think, we picked up a lot.
And looking ahead to next year, going to Europe, do you have any knowledge of the language of the countries that you're going to be visiting? German, French?
Any other languages?
The kids have been raised bilingual in French, so they speak fluent French, as do I. So we have that language, and then we'll all be, Eric and I both studied in German, so we'll be brushing up on that.
High school, it's been a long time.
well, you spoke
There's a question.
You actually selected countries that you did, and how did safety prevail, or comfort, or what were the factors? I know internet was important, but what else?
Well, one big factor this year was that we wanted to stay in the longitude of the time zone that Eric works in, which is in Boston. So that's one of the reasons that we chose to do Latin America. When we set out, we thought we might stay in Costa Rica the whole year. We picked Costa Rica because it was a place we had wanted to go for a long time. Isaac is an animal lover, and we wanted to see the nature there. And it was a safe country that we thought we could settle into fairly easily. So that's why we picked Costa Rica. Once we got to Costa Rica, we started learning more about Nicaragua and meeting people who had been to Nicaragua and reading that, in fact, Nicaragua is the second safest country in this hemisphere after Canada. So despite its reputation, Nicaragua was another safe destination and was close to Costa Rica, so we crossed the border and went to Nicaragua and ended up absolutely adoring Nicaragua. Probably, I think all of us would say more than Costa Rica. Then I had a work event in Cuba, so we thought we would go check out Cuba. Really, we followed our nose. It wasn't, we have some friends that we met along the way that were doing a very methodical, working their way down or working their way up, and we didn't really do that. We were kind of tired of the tropics, which was surprising because we both love it. So, mosquitoes. You saw a picture. At the end, we went to the Amazon in Peru. But after the experience in Nicaragua, we thought it would be interesting to go see the Andes and to get a completely different climate.
Sasha, how are you feeling? We were all so worried about you. Glad to see you were fully recovered.
Yeah. I'm a tiny bit tired all the time.
Sasha came down with a really high fever and breathing issues when we were up at 14,000 feet.
And like Sasha, she had breathing issues and she could almost not breathe. It was really scary. I thought maybe she had pneumonia.
So she's much better.
I got asthma and it's not very good.
Yeah, I think we got a sense, being at the high elevation, we got a sense of what asthma might feel like.
So what does guinea pig taste like?
We haven't tasted it. A lot of people say it tastes like chicken and also doesn't have a lot of meat on it.
We kept saying we were going to try it, and then we would be at a restaurant and say, yeah, not tonight.
Because it looks so weird, you can even see the teeth and they leave the teeth in.
Oh, yeah.
You guys did try a small alpaca.
We ate alpaca. How is alpaca, Sasha?
It's
It's red.
beef.
It tastes kind of like
You can eat it as a hamburger.
What was it like to go in the local school?
well, there were a lot of people that came from different places too, like there was that but so the teacher wasn't very nice, and the English teacher was very, very nice, and all the kids were very nice.
Oh.
And the lunch was a lot better than the school lunch here. Actually comes on a real plate. And we also learn.
Your children?
What was it like for you, Sasha?
I didn't like it as much because I was separated from my brother.
Oh.
And on the first day I cried.
And then you made friends, right? There's a lot of questions. Does anybody else? What other questions do you have?
I have another question. But I wonder, was it hard for the kids to try different foods?
How was the food, Sasha and Isaac?
It was like, there was pasta, there was chicken, there was fish. Well, the national food is Costa Rica, it's we're basically talking people. They have people,
Tell what that
Pinto is black beans, rice or red beans and rice, and then fried together. And they have scrambled eggs with them, and they have some ham and bacon. But sometimes
This question, we should get.
Do you want to answer?
So the kids, so
but
what?
Nicaragua has
So it depended, like this guy, went for the rice and beans, like, I mean, he loved them, so that was not a problem. But one thing that was hard was like things like cheese, for example. So like they would get cheese expecting, cheese they know. They would get cheese that tasted very differently. Completely rejected those. And so they had a hard time with things like that. So it kind of went up and down, depending on which country we were in and what the food was.
Was it more towards the end, or was it up and down?
I can speak for myself. I don't know. I can speak for them. I don't know. Where did you guys like the food best? Like, what country did you like the food best?
well, the place where I liked the food the best was in Nicaragua, like the Mediterranean food.
And which country was what level the worst? Where did you like the food the least? So you said they're very similar. Bless you. Sasha, how about you? Is there a food you like the least? A country where you like the food the least, or some food you can remember you didn't like? Can you some food that you really didn't like and what was your least favorite food?
Oh, I didn't like the cheese on the pizza
Cheese and pizza.
So I think that the hardest thing about the food was when we were at family stays because there was no choice. But I also kind of liked that as parents.
I like
because
the crema de choclos.
they would find things they liked because there was no choice. So that's what there was to eat. So that was kind of a helpful feature, actually, in a way. And then we had our staples, and in each place where we had a kitchen, we were able to find fresh veggies and beans and rice and eggs and pasta. And so when we had our own kitchen, we did just pretty basic.
To
Explain what it would
the next year, have you have a schedule, itinerary for which countries you would
They're all
like to visit first? Eastern Europe?
So we're heading to Europe first, and we kind of have an itinerary for the 90 days that we're allowed to stay in Europe on visas. More or less, we have our itinerary, but we've really been working this whole past year about 1 to 2 months in advance, and that's kind of still the schedule we're on. We have some dreams. We're hoping from Europe that we'll be able to go to India for maybe an extended period. And then we all have put into the hopper places that we would like to go. Sasha, Sasha wants to say something about where we're going to be for her birthday. We've kind of started having destination birthdays.
We're going to be in India.
Her birthday's in November, so she's aiming to have her birthday at the Camel Festival in Pushkar.
Why did you choose to go to yeah, why did you choose to go to Europe?
Like with a lot of the other choices we made, it was pretty practical. I happen to have a lot of frequent flyer miles on Air France, and after looking around at how we could use them in South America to do more there or go somewhere else, the best way to use them was to travel to Paris. So all of us could travel there for very little. And we decided the kids had never been to France and they speak French. So it was a chance for them to go and experience that. We have time for one more question. Isaac, did you want to describe what a vicuña is?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you about the camel and stuff.
Speak up, say what that is again, what are you gonna tell about?
I'm gonna tell you guys about the camelid of South Africa.
What is a camel?
Camelid is in the family of camels and gorillas. So these are the different camelids. So the vicuña is the smallest of the South American camelids, and its fleece is considered the most precious in the world. And then there's the one on this is the
Afterwards, we have a little table with some items that you can look at, and in a little bag, there is something.
We'll be also putting this on the table.
This is vicuña fiber here, if you would like to touch it.
The soft stuff.
So one more question. Oh, it looks like there's Isabel? Go ahead.
How did you get the well and stuff?
How did we get what?
The stuff.
The vicuña fiber? Sasha, do you put a video?
We went to a farm and they gave us on a tour, they gave us
We learned that this family that we were visiting catches vicuñas, which are all wild. They're not domesticated animals.
And it's illegal to hunt them.
And they catch them once a year and shear them. And then
Only
take
the
them.
people that come from, that have that culture.
And they were going to be doing it the next day after we were there. We were sad that we were going to miss it. And so they gave us a little bit from last year. And that's how we got it. Julia.
They even make things out of it, like stars.
all of your favorite countries.
Favorite countries. Sasha? Sasha was saying on the side, that's too hard a question because this and this and that. Peru.